that works in Washington, D.C. for Janet Napolitano. And we were in conversation last summer. I asked him what was being done about the illegal alien and the border control problems and all. And he told me nothing. And he said, we don't want to do anything to stop it. We don't want to stop them from coming here because, and I said, why? He said, because our country and our economy will collapse without them. And he also told me that America has gone as far as it can. And he was insinuating, you know, that we had scaled the heights and that now we were we were burnt out. And the plan is that there will, you know, we don't need capitalism. That will be done away with, and that we will live in high-rise communities like you've been talking about, that are self-contained, and all the other land will be allowed to return to its former, you know, glory.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we will visit it, the natural habitats, and enjoy them. And I asked him, if we do not have capitalism, what are we going to do for a living? What are we going to do for jobs? And he said something to me kind of like that we would all become farmers and it would be agricultural.
And that we would...
It's hard to do from a high-rise.
Well, I don't know how he figures that, but anyway, I was shocked, and he knows I'm a conservative, my husband and I, but I was in the room with him alone. There weren't any witnesses to hear this. I was shocked that he would tell me these things because it could get him potentially in trouble, you know. And
but this is being discussed freely, Linda, and right now because most people don't understand what they're hearing.
But did he agree?
And
with
they make
this?
It sound so good. Go ahead, Jim.
Did he agree with this as he was telling you this?
Yes, sir. He's
been brainwashed then.
He's young. He's been brainwashed since the time he was in high school. And he's worked with the government there in Arizona ever since he was old enough to do anything for them.
Well, thank you, Linda, for sharing that with us. It just kind of confirms what we've been saying here today. Lillian in Florida watching on direct. Lillian, welcome to Sun Life Broadcasting. You have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like for Tom to explain the rationale about how the Middle East countries can drill for oil and they're not hurting the environment, but if we drill for oil here, we're hurting the environment. I've wanted somebody to answer that question for so long, so I'll just hang up and
we'd like the same answer, Lillian.
Yeah, I would. I like that.
Yeah.
We ask these kind of questions every day, but you see, we're just being curmudgeons here. That's, you know, we just don't understand. Again, understand, this is the answer. This is all about redistribution of the wealth, not protecting the environment. That's why, and it's simply that. And you know, these countries are heavily behind what's happening here because their greatest terror is that the United States would start to drill its own oil and become energy independent and not need OPEC and you know, their cartels to dictate to us anymore. If we did that, you remember when we had 25 cents a gallon gasoline? I do.
I can remember that, yeah.
Well, with inflated prices, it's probably more than that now, but it would be, it could be returned. We have to build refineries to process it. The fact is, we could drill all kinds of oil right now, and it wouldn't change anything because we haven't got any refineries to process it. Right. But we could build refineries and drill our own oil, and we would be, you know, Barack Obama says every day that we've got to stop our dependency on foreign oil. Hey, Barack, we can do it real easy, but you refuse to do it because it's not about that. It is about redistribution of our wealth, and they want our money going to these countries and letting them drill the oil. But that proves to you that it has nothing to do with protecting the environment.
I worked as a construction worker for some 30-odd years, and I worked in the refineries. And, you know, the major oil companies bought these independent refineries up and shut them down, gave them top dollar for them, and then just closed them down. Right. They created this. And, of course, really the bottom line is
it's been created, right? It's not a natural occurrence. It's been created by government.
And again, it's going to eventually, it's about controlling the human race more than anything else, making slaves out of us.
Yeah. Tom, this lady is saying, how will this affect widows and those that live in mobile homes and live on Social Security income? Well, the government, anytime the government is giving any of us money, whether it's Social Security or whatever, we would be moved into this type of living environment.
I mean, you are a complete victim at that point.
That's right.
And
That's
the way it looks in the States, they're all so deep in debt until they can't pay, you know, and whenever and it's going to happen, it's just a matter of time, the property tax is going to go so high. And the people that already
will be forced to sell their homes.
Absolutely, because they're in debt for them.
Yeah.
At inflated prices that they created again, they valued them a lot higher than they were really worth. Now it's starting to level off, and so yes, it's use the C word. It's a conspiracy, and it's been going on a long, long time.
Right. Here's an interesting aspect of that. I mentioned conservation easements as a way that's getting people off their land and so forth. Well, here's another way it's being used. In the county I'm in, which is a very rural county, 33% of the land in this county has been locked away in conservation easements. They say it's to help the farmer. We have found that 2% of that area is farmland. The rest of it, I'm sure you're familiar with Virginia and the horse country, where all the rich have their large farms where they can ride their horses around. 31% of the land in the county is locked away in conservation easements is owned by these landed gentry who have found a way to cut the cost on their property in paying taxes, shifting it to the rest of us so they can have their horses.
Mm-hmm. All right, one quick question before we go to, was that Betty in South Carolina, or is that the next caller? Betty, all right. Before we go to Betty, it says, Tom and panel, have you read the executive orders in place which are at the President's disposal to use if he should deem anything as an emergency, such as natural disasters, banking collapse, energy crisis, or resistance to his crazy leadership? He is pushing the American people into a corner to control and take over. And Tom, are you aware that under executive order, the Congress can lose all of its power, as well as the Bill of Rights being suspended? All personal property, cars included, can be confiscated and become the government's property, as well as persons can be drafted into work forces like Hitler's Germany.
Right.
These agendas are only the beginning. The green and environmentalists are the groundwork to test us to see if we as a people are going to just stand by and be taken over.
That's exactly right, and yeah, they're writing these executive orders to do all that, all for emergencies, you understand, just in case we have one, and they put all that stuff in place. However, the president sitting there writing an executive order should be akin to you or I sitting down saying, here's my wish list, and it has about as much legal status unless the Congress lets them do it. This happens because they're usurping congressional power because Congress lets them do it.
Right.
And that's where it's got to start, is elect congressmen who will no longer let these fools in the White House do that.
Tom, if all the officials does not admit to know anything about the 21 agenda, then how are we going to know what they are planning?
Because you need to know what the agenda is. So you can translate it and know.
Right.
That's literally how you have to do it. You cannot sit there and allow them to tell you, well, this is what we really mean by this.
Right.
You need to know what they mean by it, and that's the only way you're going to be able to fight back.
Right. We're quickly going to Betty in South Carolina. Betty, you have a question?
I do, and thank you, Francis, and you and Jim. I watch y'all's program every morning.
Thank you.
Tom, I have, several years ago, they replaced my electric meter, and I've got these fluorescent light bulbs all throughout my house. And just recently, about 2 months ago, I was contacted by Duke Energy to set up an appointment with me because I was a homeowner. And they wanted to come out, inspect my home, said it'd take about an hour to inspect, to see what I needed to do to update my home for energy efficient. And this is really shocking for what I'm hearing today on your program. And so I put them off, and I said, well, I'm not at home. So they've contacted me several times, and matter of fact, I was contacted yesterday. But do I allow these people to come in, or I just say no, just I'm not interested?
For as long as you're legally able to, tell them no. Because as the lady earlier said, they'll come in and they'll change things, they'll do things. You will then be on the grid, you'll be in the system, and they'll come in, they'll maybe take photographs, they'll certainly keep a record of it, and they'll know exactly your situation there. And as new regulations are created, as new programs are created, they'll say, oh, well, geez, this one here Betty's got this over here. We'll have to go in there and get that from her, or we'll have to change this. Don't let them in your property. You Absolutely. Do not have to.
Once you let them on, they got control, and they've set a precedent too that you've allowed them on your property.
I would also suggest that you write a letter to the editor to get it out that this is happening, so other people can be alarmed about it. Because fighting alone makes you the victim, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. The only way that we're going to be able to turn this around, what I came away from this meeting yesterday with these officials in Richmond, is that we no longer can play footsie with these guys. We can't be polite. We can't sit there and say, well, gee, listen to our position. They don't want to hear our position. They don't care about our position. What we have to do is get them out of office. And we've got to rise up across this country.
That's it. And Tom, our time is out. And Betty, I'm sorry. Tom, thank you for being with us today. I want to remind the people about your book, Now Tell Me I Was Wrong. I think after listening to Tom today that you're going to want to purchase his book. And I encourage all of you to go to Amazon.com and find Tom DeWeese's book, Now Tell Me I Was Wrong, and purchase it for yourself. Tom, one quick statement or so before we have to close down the program.
Again, this is about redistribution of wealth. It is about making the United States harmonized into the rest of the world. Once you understand that part of it, the rest of it makes sense. And get your information, AmericanPolicy.org. And I've got all kinds of information there and give you what you need to fight back.
All right, thank you, Tom. We'll be talking with you later, and to all of our listeners, we'll be having Tom and others like him back as guests on this program so that you'll be kept well informed. We love you, and God bless you. And let's see, Jim, today's Friday, so be tuned to Sun Life Broadcasting Sunday morning, 10 a.m., Sunday night, 6 p.m. for our live services that are broadcast over the network. We love you, and God bless you.
Thanks for joining us today for Francis and Friends. Email questions and comments for today's program to onair@jsm.org. Podcasts of previous programs can be listened to on our website at francisandfriends.com. Francis and Friends airs live weekday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, and replays weekday evenings on the Sun Life Radio Network and on television on the Sun Life Broadcasting Network. Francis and Friends is a production of the Sun Life Broadcasting Network.